Lieutenant Governor Tsutsui, Senator and Mrs. Schatz, Chief Justice Reckenbaugh, former governors Ariyoshi, Governor Wahei, former Governor Cayetano, former Governor Lingo, esteemed colleagues, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, aloha.
Aloha.
It is my distinct honor and pleasure to welcome all of you to the Senate's opening of the 27th Legislature. It is heartwarming to see so many familiar faces, but this year begins with several newcomers to the Senate. Representing Kahului and Wailuku is Keith Agaran. From Kahu and Puna comes Russell Ruderman. And from Windward, Oahu, and East Honolulu is Laura Gillen. Please join me in welcoming them to these chambers. I would like to also acknowledge the lone voice of the minority, Senator Sam Snow. Voice for his party, and he is still here. I must confess that this is a very humbling experience to stand here before you this morning. I grew up a stone's throw away from this building in Kalihi, Palau, as one of 5 kids in a poor working class family. And like many of you, both my parents worked and struggled to keep food on the table and a roof over our heads. My dad is here in spirit, but I would like at this time to acknowledge my mom. Given those modest beginnings, never could I imagine that I would someday be standing before you as Senate President, and I thank you, colleagues, for this tremendous privilege. The Hawaii of our childhood was a lot different than it is today. We had a smaller population, an economy still largely dependent on agriculture. No freeways, no traffic congestion like this morning, fewer of the social ills that we now see, and a smaller and no doubt simpler government. We were blessed with a strong spirit of community, and we took care of each other. As kids, we played with marbles and tops and beanbags in the streets with friends from the neighborhood, and we walked to school together. And we were unburdened by the concerns that kids worry about these days. Places like Palama Settlement and my alma mater, Farrington High School, shaped our lives and prepared us to be responsible adults and leaders. Then there was that special teacher, aunt or uncle, who mentored or influenced our lives. For me, it was Kukuhula Auntie Mikey Ayu, who instilled in me the traditional Hawaiian core values of aloha, lokahi, harmony, kuleana, responsibility, and ha'a, humility. Through hula, she taught me discipline, respect, hard work, and grace. These values are the foundation of our kupuna that has been handed down from generation to generation. Mahalo, Senator Solomon and the Beamer Solomon Halal, for doing your part in continuing this legacy. While we may not have realized it at the time, the incredible changes that came with the Democratic Revolution of 1954, statehood a few years later, and the socioeconomic evolution that followed statehood were the catalysts that set the groundwork for what we have continued to build upon to this day. But like any structure, no matter how good the foundation, it still requires upkeep and constant care. Years of budget cuts as a result of the economic downturn have weakened our foundation, so reassessments should be a priority. our public education system, in the growth of charter schools, in the University of Hawaii. In consumer protection, Chair Ross Baker's work for health insurance coverage for individuals and families. In the laws that give protection to workers guided by Judiciary and Labor Chair Clayton He. In services that help our children in Kupuna and those unable to help themselves under the watch of Human Services Chair Suzanne Chamberlain. These and so many other programs and services that enrich our lives and contribute to the quality of life can and must be continued. After several years of belt tightening, we're greeting the session with a rosier economic outlook. The Council of Revenues has projected that tax increases will increase by 5% this year, indications that the economy continues to improve. Our visitor industry remains strong, and other industries like construction are poised to make a comeback. But tourism deserves a special mention. The visitor industry continues to be a driving force for the economy, helping to power our recovery. Last year, tourism brought $2 billion more to the economy over the year before. More than 166,000 jobs were supported by tourism, and its indirect impact is just as far-reaching. Our island visitor bureaus, our worldwide marketing partners, and the Hawaii Tourism Authority, under the leadership of Mike McCartney and Board Chair Rod Wimios, deserve our applause for these accomplishments. The Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit demonstrated that Hawaii has a global presence. Our host culture can teach, touch, bridge, and inspire those who embrace Hawaii and our people. Hawaiian music and dance transcend differences in our races, nationality, or language. And it was Auntie Mikey's stories and her passion to preserve and perpetuate this aspect of Hawaiian culture that inspired me, and that's why I have long advocated the establishment of a museum or center of Hawaiian music and dance. I am proposing that we consider building it atop the convention center. What better place to share the heart and soul of our host culture with residents and visitors alike? Tourism and Hawaiian Affairs Chair Brickwood Galataria and I challenge Hawaii Tourism Authority and the Office of Hawaiian Affairs to work together to make this center a reality. And there's always a but, with the strong visitor numbers and prospect of more revenues and what I term pent-up demand to restore the budget cuts we've had to make, it might be tempting and politically popular for us to return to the spending patterns of more prosperous times. We should, however, proceed with caution. After all, the salary cuts for state employees will expire this year. The administration is negotiating new labor agreements with public employee unions, and this will be a huge cost item in our budget. Nationally, the presidential campaign and congressional wrangling over the federal budget reflect great divisions in our nation. Here at home, we face monumental changes in politics. The passing of Senator Dan Inouye, who we are still mourning, and the retirement of our beloved Senator Donna Mercado have triggered a ripple effect that has impacted our state. Yes, there are lingering fiscal concerns and potential new ones. Among them are possible cutbacks in federal funding, and many are looking to the state to make up the difference. Add to this the backlog of repair and maintenance needs for schools, parks, public housings, state buildings, and our infrastructure. Initiatives to establish a state-run early education program, a new prison, and more affordable housing, tax credits, as well as proposals for more grants and aid and other public support are among the issues lawmakers will be deliberating. Despite all of these demands and the anticipation of better economic times, I hope first and foremost that there will be no new tax burdens thrust upon our citizens.
Yes.
open the taxpayers' pocketbooks to every budget request, to every new proposal, and every new capital improvement project. I'm not saying that we should not consider new initiatives. After all, the legislature is a forum for new ideas, new ways of doing things to better the quality of our life. But as we weigh their merits, let's also look at the merits of what we already have. Reevaluating and reassessing what we have in place may not sound sexy or innovative or sell newspapers, but we must discipline ourselves to do this if we are to be more efficient and effective than we have been. And while we consider early childhood education proposals, it's imperative that we resolve our problems with the teacher's contract, with school bus services, and the many challenges facing the Department of Education and our charter schools. To help resolve these and other cost items, I call upon the administration to work with us to aggressively eliminate overpayments to state workers and abuses in overtime and sick leave. We are talking about the potential of millions of dollars. Let's use these savings and the additional revenues forecast by the Council of Revenues to accelerate fixing our schools, funding Kupuna Care, reducing the unfunded liability of the state pension system, and repairing our roads and aging infrastructure. You know, the collapse of Farrington High School's auditorium was a loud warning that we need to quickly assess the structural soundness of our aging facilities. Fortunately, no one was injured, but we may not be so lucky next time. Likewise, we mustn't create or reinstitute public programs without a thorough examination of their long-term impact. If we authorize new positions, what are the long-term financial obligations regarding rising labor, pension, and healthcare costs? For every new building, how much will it cost to operate, maintain, and eventually repair or replace? Those costs should be factored into our 5-year balanced budget requirement, and we'll look to Ways and Means Chair David Ige and Vice Chair Michelle Kidani to help us accomplish this. The author Richard Schickel wrote, "The law of unintended consequences pushes us ceaselessly through the years, permitting no pause for perspective." With that thought in mind, we should pause to review the laws we have on the books. Are they working? Are they serving the intended purposes? Or are they barriers? The legislative auditor, and I'd be remiss in not acknowledging the outstanding work of Marian Higo. Marian, we will miss you, but we wish you well in your retirement. The auditor is only able to evaluate a fraction of our innumerable public programs. The report on the implementation of State Auditor's 2008 recommendations was released last February, revealing that less than 1/3 of the 2008 recommendations have been implemented. We could definitely do better in acting on the auditor's recommendations. It seems that closer scrutiny of statutory mandated projects or offices is done only when a problem is reported by the news media or brought to our attention by constituents. Some examples include the high-five recycling program, charter schools, public land development corporation, airport procurement contracts, and a host of other statutes and requirements that affect us all. We need to either fix or repeal laws that are not working as they were intended or which have created burdens that were unforeseen at the time of their establishment. And to achieve this, I urge the Senate to use the post-session interim to initiate these evaluations, since we never have enough time during our hectic 60-day legislative session. Higher Education Chair Brian Taniguchi has the task of following up on the issues raised during the Special Committee on Accountability hearings of the University of Hawaii. What resonated from those hearings is that those appointed as stewards of public trust are responsible for the performance of the organizations they oversee